WWE just released their top 10 NXT moments list, and I'm about to say something that's going to make a lot of people angry. This list is disrespectful to NXT's legacy, completely ignores some of the brand's most iconic moments, and proves that WWE still doesn't fully understand what made NXT special in the first place. If you've been an NXT fan since the Full Sail days, if you remember when NXT was the best wrestling show on the planet, if you know the difference between black and gold NXT and whatever we have now, you're going to be furious when you see what made this list and what got left off. Let's break down why this top 10 is both a celebration and an insult to everything NXT has accomplished. Before we dive into the controversy, I need to know, do you think WWE's main roster bias influences how they rank NXT moments, or are they genuinely trying to honor the brand's history? Drop your honest take in the comments because this is going to get heated. Let me start by saying this: any top 10 NXT list is going to be incomplete. NXT has given us hundreds of incredible moments over the years. From takeover classics to emotional debuts, from shocking returns to career-defining victories, the brand has been a treasure trove of wrestling excellence. So yes, some great moments were always going to be left off. But the choices WWE made for this particular list reveal something deeper about how they view NXT's place in their universe, and it's not pretty. Here's what made WWE's official top 10 NXT moments list as of the 10th of February 2026, and I'm going to tell you exactly why some of these placements are absolutely mind-boggling. Starting at number 10, WWE put Carmella's shocking victory in the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match that took place on SmackDown in 2017. Wait, hold on, that wasn't even an NXT moment. That happened on the main roster. Yes, Carmella was an NXT alumni, but if we're counting main roster achievements, then this list becomes meaningless. This spot should have gone to an actual NXT moment, and there are dozens that deserved it more. Quick trivia question: who was Carmella's biggest rival during her NXT run? First correct answer gets pinned. Number 9 was Tommaso Ciampa's heel turn on Johnny Gargano after they lost the NXT Tag Team Championships to the Authors of Pain at TakeOver Chicago in 2017. Now this is a legitimate NXT moment, and honestly, it deserves to be higher. The image of Ciampa beating down Gargano on the entrance ramp, the crowd's shock, the sheer brutality of the attack, this wasn't just a moment, it was the beginning of the greatest storyline in NXT history. Putting this at number 9 is like putting Stone Cold's heel turn at WrestleMania X7 at number 9 on an Attitude Era list. It's criminal. At number 8, they put Finn Balor's Demon debut at TakeOver Unstoppable against Kevin Owens in 2015. Great moment, absolutely iconic, but here's my problem: the Demon has been done to death now. We've seen it so many times that it's lost its mystique. The first appearance was special, sure, but ranking it above what comes next on this list is questionable at best. Question for you: has WWE overexposed the Demon King character, or is it still special when Finn brings it out? Sound off below. Number 7 is where things get really controversial. WWE ranked Sasha Banks and Bayley's Iron Woman match at TakeOver Respect in 2015 at number 7. Number 7, are you kidding me? This match didn't just change NXT, it changed how WWE viewed women's wrestling forever. This was the match that proved women could main event, could go 30 minutes, could tell a story as compelling as any men's match in history. This match directly led to the women's revolution on the main roster. It should be top 3, minimum. The fact that WWE has this at number 7 tells me everything I need to know about how they view women's contributions to NXT's legacy, and it makes me absolutely livid. Sasha and Bayley put NXT on the map with this match. They made TakeOver events must-see. They inspired an entire generation of women wrestlers, and WWE ranks it at number 7. Absolutely disrespectful. Here's a question that's going to divide the comments: was Sasha vs. Bayley at TakeOver Respect the single most important match in NXT history, yes or no? And defend your answer. Number 6 was Adam Cole's NXT Championship victory over Drew McIntyre at TakeOver Brooklyn 4 in 2018. Great moment, Cole was an excellent champion, but again, this feels like recency bias. There are moments from NXT's earlier years that had more impact on the brand's trajectory that should rank higher than this. Number 5 is Shinsuke Nakamura's debut against Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas in 2016. Now we're talking. This match was electric. The atmosphere, the strikes, the chemistry between two of the best wrestlers in the world. This was the moment NXT announced they could sign anybody from anywhere and make magic. However, ranking it at number 5 seems about right, maybe even generous considering what's higher on the list. What was your first reaction when you saw Nakamura vs Sign at TakeOver Dallas? I want to hear those initial reactions in the comments. Number 4 was the debut of The Shield. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose attacking Ryback at Survivor Series 2012. Hold on, that's not an NXT moment either. Yes, they were all in NXT developmental, but The Shield debuted on the main roster. This is the second time WWE has put a main roster moment on an NXT top 10 list, and it's starting to feel like they are trying to give NXT credit for main roster success rather than celebrating what actually happened in NXT. If we're counting this, then we should count every single main roster debut and achievement of every NXT graduate, which would make this list completely different. The inconsistency here is maddening. Number 3 is where I start to have some agreement with WWE. They ranked the Undisputed Era's formation and dominance of NXT in 2017 to 2021. This makes sense. The Undisputed Era was NXT 4 years. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong created a faction that felt genuinely important, won multiple championships, and gave us countless classic matches. This is a deserving top 3 placement. Question: was Undisputed Era the greatest faction in NXT history, or does another group deserve that title? Make your case. Number 2 on WWE's list is Sami Zayn's NXT Championship victory over Neville at TakeOver Evolution in 2014. This is one of the most emotional moments in NXT history. Sami's journey to the title, the incredible match quality, the post-match celebration with the crowd, this was the moment that defined what NXT could be. Having this at number 2 is appropriate, though I could argue it deserves the top spot depending on your criteria. And finally, at number 1, WWE ranked the 4 Horsewomen era, the collective dominance and impact of Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Bayley on NXT from 2014 to 2015. This is a safe choice, and while it's absolutely deserving of being in the top 3, I'm not sure it's the clear number 1. The 4 Horsewomen revolutionized women's wrestling, absolutely. They made NXT's women's division must-see television. They proved women could be the draw, not just a supporting act. But ranking an era at number 1 feels like WWE is avoiding making a definitive choice about a single moment. Now let's talk about the massive omissions from this list, because this is where I get really fired up. Where is Finn Balor winning the inaugural NXT Championship in 2014? That moment created the modern NXT Championship lineage. Where is Kevin Owens' debut where he immediately attacked Sami Zayn? Where is Asuka's undefeated streak that lasted 914 days? Where is Ember Moon ending that streak at TakeOver Brooklyn 3? Where is Johnny Gargano vs Andrade in that insane street fight? Where is DIY winning the tag titles for the first time? Here's the big one. Where is Johnny Gargano finally winning the NXT Championship from Adam Cole in that 2 out of 3 Falls Classic at TakeOver New York in 2019? That might be the single greatest match in NXT history, and it's not even on the top 10 list. Are you kidding me? What's the biggest omission from this list in your opinion? What moment absolutely should have made the top 10? I need to hear your takes, and let's talk about something else that bothers me. This list heavily favors the black and gold era of NXT 2014 to 2021 and almost completely ignores NXT 2.0 and the current iteration. Now, I understand why the black and gold era was better, objectively. But WWE is actively trying to move past that era and rebrand NXT, yet their own top 10 list is an admission that nothing from the new era can compete with what came before. What does that say about the current product? What does it say about WWE's confidence in modern NXT? It's like they are saying, yeah, we know the old stuff was better, but please keep watching the new stuff anyway. Here's a controversial question: should NXT 2.0 / current NXT even be considered the same brand as Black and Gold NXT, or are they fundamentally different shows that shouldn't be compared? This one's going to start arguments. Let me also point out the obvious bias towards certain wrestlers on this list. Notice how many of these moments involve people who became huge main roster stars: Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, Becky, Roman, Seth, Dean, Finn, Shinsuke. WWE is clearly favoring moments involving people who made it on the main roster rather than celebrating NXT for its own sake. What about the people who were NXT? What about Tyler Breeze, who embodied everything great about developmental becoming destination television? What about Samoa Joe's dominant run? What about the War Games matches that became takeover traditions? What about the CWC and the Cruiserweight Classic that happened under the NXT umbrella? This list feels less like the greatest NXT moments and more like NXT moments involving people who later became main roster stars, and that's a fundamentally different thing. Quick question: if you could add one moment to this list and remove one moment, what would you choose? Specifics in the comments. Here's what this list should have looked like if WWE was being honest about NXT's most impactful moments. 1. Sasha vs Bayley Iron Woman match, changed everything. 2. Gargano vs Cole 2 out of 3 falls, peak NXT storytelling. 3. Zayn vs Neville, the emotional blueprint. 4. Ciampa's heel turn, greatest storyline begins. 5. Nakamura's debut, NXT goes global. 6. First women's takeover main event, revolutionary. 7. Undisputed era formation, faction excellence. 8. Asuka's undefeated streak, dominance perfected. 9. First NXT takeover event, the format that changed everything. 10. Finn Balor wins inaugural NXT title, creating the lineage. That's a list that actually honors what made NXT special without favoritism toward main roster success. Final question, and this is the big one: do you think WWE will ever recapture what made black and gold era NXT so special, or is that magic gone forever? Give me your honest prediction. Look, I understand that top 10 lists are subjective. I understand that different people value different things. But when WWE itself releases an official top 10, it's not just one person's opinion, it's a statement about what the company values, what they want to be remembered for, and how they view their own history. This top 10 list tells me that WWE values main roster success over NXT excellence. It tells me they are more interested in celebrating people who left NXT than people who defined it. It tells me they still see NXT as a stepping stone rather than a destination, despite years of trying to convince us otherwise. The saddest part: there are incredible moments happening in NXT right now that will never be appreciated the way the black and gold era was, because WWE has already decided that era was the peak and everything else is just a pale imitation. If you're as passionate about NXT history as I am, I need you to do something for me. Like this video if you disagree with WWE's rankings. Share it with every NXT fan you know, and flood the comments with your own top 10 lists. Let's show WWE what real NXT fans think deserves recognition. This is Wrestling Zone 1, where we celebrate wrestling history, but we're not afraid to call out when that history is being disrespected. WWE's top 10 NXT moments list is a mixed bag of deserving entries and head-scratching choices, and it's time we had an honest conversation about what really made NXT legendary. Subscribe for more deep dives into wrestling's most controversial topics, and let's keep fighting to make sure NXT's true legacy is remembered correctly.